1957 was the year. They came across as the reigning premiers. They just won the premiership in Adelaide, Port Adelaide, and they played East Fremantle, the team I barracked for as a young man. So I was very impressed not only with the way they played football, but with the jumper. I remember Foss Williams running out that day. It was so different. I'd not seen anything like it. Certainly I had the WAFL jumpers to compare it to, bearing in mind I was only 8, but I hadn't seen as good as that, and probably still haven't, to be honest, in the AFL competition itself. That is the jumper when I think football. That's why it's hanging up there, actually. That's the jumper that I think was the best I've ever seen. I hadn't seen East Fremantle lose too many games. In fact, they had a wonderful team, East Fremantle, too. 4 All-Australians in that team. I mean, that wouldn't have happened too often, and yet Port beat them. And Port really had an attitude about their game that day. I don't remember the margin, but I know they won, and won pretty well. Well, because of seeing them play back in 1957, eventually I got one as a teenager, and I used to train in it. Now, I wore that one out, so I replaced it when I was in South Australia one day doing a Friday night game in the AFL. I popped in and bought one of those and brought it home. So I've given it a good home. A bit cold out here, but still I like to see it because it brings back memories of my childhood as much as anything else.
And I've got to say, as a West Australian, Bruce, I've always regarded that strip that Port are wearing today as the best uniform in Australian football.
It's amazing, isn't it? It looks great, I reckon. It's fantastic.
Well, they looked great for a start, didn't they? It was a very colourful game. I like colour in games when I broadcast them. Richmond always good. That's a good jumper. And they were playing that day. And of course, Port thrashed them. And perhaps we can put that down to the jumper. But no, it was an exciting day to see it in action. You know, I hadn't seen it in the flesh apart from 1957. When you think back to the WAFL and the SANFL, only one team out of all those clubs made it out alive, and that's Port Adelaide. And I think as a tribute to the other clubs in some respects, I'd like to see them wear that jumper more often. That's, I think, a tribute to all the clubs, as I say, that didn't make it. I think wearing them in showdowns would be fantastic. I just think when you've got something that unique, definitely the best strip around Australia, whether it be the AFL, the WAFL or the SANFL, the best strip should be seen. It's part of history, part of what happened to make the AFL such a great competition.